Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MuseCast, episode 45, Climbing the Ladder. We do have some interesting things to talk about today. This is going to be a shorter episode because of the crazy wild schedules that me and Dick are holding up on completely separate ends of pulling off stuff. But it's an action-packed one. We have a couple of really important things to talk about first. First off, out of the gate, Big Dave. You know who he is, guys. This is the man that sang on Afrayed and Cue the Muses. He's the front man for Fighting Giants. He's the mascot of Dave's Last Night, the band that Dick's in now. And Big
Yes.
Dave, we mentioned this in the last episode, but it was a bit late into it. And guys, it's not good. Like Dave, I'll let you explain it, Dick, but ultimately he's in the hospital, and it's been. Are we going
Yeah,
on the third week now?
yeah, he's been in there for quite a while. He's at least on week 2, going on week 3. He's super lucky, super fortunate. He had an infection on his leg. He misdiagnosed it himself. He gets what's called gout fairly regularly over the last 10 years, and foot swole up. He thought, oh, painful foot, swollen up. I got the gout. It sucks. It's going to be a couple days. And it wasn't gout. It was an infection, and it was a flesh-eating bacterial infection. The way those things work, kids, in case you don't know, if you get a flesh-eating bacterial infection and you don't do anything about it, if it gets into your bone marrow, you lose the limb because there's no getting it out other than amputation. That's the threshold. Dave is super fortunate. He did not hit that threshold. It was not in his bone. He still has his leg, but he's going into surgery number 4 now. He's waiting for surgery number 4,
Unreal.
which is another surgery to remove parts of the infection. It's still it lingers. It doesn't go away. It's a relentless attack force in his body trying to
Jesus,
destroy his tissue. But the good thing is the doctors are very hopeful. He's actually in Augusta at the burn clinic where they're going to do a skin graft once everything's out. They're just making double, triple sure, because if there's still any infection in there and they perform the skin graft, it's all for nothing. The infection's going to just set in again, and then they're going to have to open it back up. So they're making 110 triplicate percent sure that it's all out before they do that.
Yeah.
But man, it's so scary that I don't know if we talked about how it happened to him on the last episode, but
I don't think we got specific.
He was wearing a pair of steel toe boots for work, and he said, maybe they didn't fit right. He's a big guy, big feet. This is a common thing. I wear steel toe boots a lot. It rubbed one of his toes the wrong way and rubbed a little sore on his toe. And, Dave's day to day, he's back living in Wakulla. One of the things they do in Wakulla County, Florida, which is in the panhandle of Florida, swimming, summertime, it's hot. It's 110 degrees. There's swimming holes. There's creeks. There's a lot of like creek swimming, bridge, like under the bridge, swimming in different places. And man, he just picked something up. And this is like, I think we did talk about this. It's like we're in the United States of America. It's not a third world country, but you gotta take care of your body and respect your body as far as little injuries like that. Especially, I talked about it in class tonight when I went to jiu-jitsu, because that's a huge problem in the jiu-jitsu world, right? I mean, you get people are rolling around on mats and somebody gets a little, like things like ringworm are problematic. That it'll spread like, the plague in a gym like that. But
Are we allowed to show one of the pictures of Dave's leg just so people can understand the gravity of the situation? Because I have one queued up, but
I mean, so
I don't know if he's been sharing it online or not.
I don't know. I haven't asked him about it. So let's wait and let's get him out of the hospital, and then let's let him tell the story, and he can be there when we show the pictures.
Sounds good.
But to describe it, it's
bad, man.
It's his entire calf, the entire skin of his calf, like the whole calf. It had to be removed. It's insane. But he's not losing the leg. He's keeping the leg. So that's
which is massive. I mean, obviously, you know, aesthetically, that's terrible. The question I, of course, have is how much muscle did they have to actually remove? And hopefully, it
yeah.
sounds like most of it's skin, which is good. Not obviously not enjoyable at all. But muscle is what you want to retain, you know. So
Yeah.
our
So
our I was going to say our prayers are with them, but we don't really pray. But the
no,
sentiment is there.
Yeah, and
I meditate.
He's doing great. I don't really
Yeah.
meditate other than you know, music and training. That's what.
And you think
blanks
about
out
him
my-
every time you play in Dave's last night.
I never think about Dave other than thinking about Dave. No, but he is doing absolutely fantastic. He's in good spirits. He's in a good place. We talk to him. We have the band thread still goes. Talk to him every day. He's doing great.
Wonderful. That's really good.
As good as he can.
Yeah. No, that's a big deal. It's great that you guys are there for him on that level.
And
so
let's switch gears. I tried. You got this thing. We talked about it last week.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ash side picker here. That's not doesn't mean I pick my nose sideways. I hold the pick sideways now, though. I am literally. Let's see if we can actually get it to focus this time. I saw what worked last time. If I got my hand all the way there. Okay, so normal picking, right, would be like, for me, is like this, with the tip just kind of sticking out. That's actually a little. I actually hold it that close.
And for me, it's like this. I hold
and
mine.
Now, after listening to an interview with a couple of Nashville badass players, I hold the pick on the shoulder sideways like this. I've been doing it for a full week now. At the time of our last podcast, I had only done it for a couple of days and was kind of blown away that I instantaneously could play certain things faster, smoother, have more control, and opened up more tonal qualities that I never even knew I could quite achieve with a pick. I thought that was more of a finger picking thing. And it's a weird thing. You get more surface area. I'm using 0.77. Okay, 0.77 mediums. But I want to get away. I want to try more with not this material, because they talked about not using these like shiny celluloid type materials. I want to try.
They call that tortoiseshell. Is that like Defender tortoiseshell pickup?
Is that what it is? It's super glossy. I thought that it's a turtle shell glossy. It's a pearl thing going on. I thought the turtle shell might be more the dry, like our Cue the Muses picks is what I thought was turtle shell, but I don't know, like what you have. I'm not sure, but I think I think they were referencing nylon is what they prefer now, and I have one of those, but it's too thin and it's got too much texture. Yeah,
that's a 1 millimeter nylon, the black one, the Dunlop.
See, I have one of those, but I want to get one that doesn't have the grip on it, because that's a weird thing happening on the string, like the way because
the grip goes all the way to the end of the pick.
Exactly. So when I hold it on the side, that grip is like scraping, and it's a little weird, but it feels interesting. I want to find one that's nylon that doesn't have that on the sides and give it a whirl. But even these ones that I happen to have, these Fender mediums, that's the one I've got actually right now, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is a brain. This is it's a nylon pick, but this is a little different. Okay. One thing about the nylon picks, they have a ridge along the entire perimeter that is like a where they stamp it out. They have to cut it. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, it's a residue. It's a little bit of a lip right there. And I have not tried the side picking with a nylon. Only with this one. But finish where you're
I
at.
will say yours are those dick picks. Those are 0.77, aren't they?
These are they're 0.70.
Or are they 0.88?
Might be 0.88. I can't. They're whatever the Dunlop Tolex green ones are. Okay. So they're either 77s or they're 88s. I can't remember.
And the Ash Von Ding Dongs that I had you order is a 1.14. 1.14.
Yep.
And then even past.
That's not a ding dong, but that's the ding dong pick with just the regular Dunlap.
Yeah.
Tortex 1.14.
And it's a bit hard.
Yeah, but
this style of picking.
there's no casting on these types. These are like
Correct,
a mold,
yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
no ridge there. There's no ridge anywhere. They're just regular pointy.
I mean, I'm kind of enjoying this Fender medium like this, even though it's this material that they're saying, but I could see there being maybe, there we go.
There it is.
You know,
There it
that's
is.
just a classic Fender medium pick. It's working fine for the, you know, for this shoulder hold. But man, the thing is, it's like, it's just so much closer to the strings. Once you just figure out how to get the attack out of it, still you have the attack, you got the smooth, you got the finger pick style, you got the chugging. The only thing I would think if I was playing, what I haven't tried yet is like I was learning Master of Puppets over the summer. I haven't learned all of it. I'm trying to do it all down picking, and that set me back a major way. Like I can basically play a lot of it like if I do alternate picking, but apparently like the proper way is down picking. And when I tried it that way, I was like, oh, tonally, that's the only way to achieve that sound is straight down picking. And it's a 217 or 218 beat per minute song.
220.
The tab that I'm learning on from this guy on YouTube, it says like 217.
Oh,
So I don't fucking know.
He's one of those guys.
He might be that particular.
So I
but
learned
I can't. It's so hard playing that all down picking. Like
It's
alternate
tough.
picking, that's not crazy,
It's tough.
but
James
down
Hetfield. James Hetfield's famous for that song, for that particular song and that tone, and all of his super fast down pick. And that I had the Guitar Magazine that had the tab for that song as a teenager. It was one of the earliest stuff that I learned was early Metallica stuff.
Yeah,
and I used to have people tell me, "Oh man, you need to stop doing all that just chug stuff all the time. You need to play more stuff like Godsmack," because that's what was popular at the time. It was like around that time when like Godsmack came out with the Awake song.
somebody told you to stop practicing Metallica and learn Godsmack.
Yeah.
This had to be one person.
No, this was
There's no way this was a unanimous.
This was a special individual. I don't remember his name, but like one of these, like at a house party, some random dude, like I'm a young kid with an acoustic guitar, and just picture some random, probably drunk, probably high college guy trying to like tell me, the younger, like high school, middle school guy, like what I should do. And I was just like, long hair, almost a beard, like screw you, dude.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous advice I've ever heard.
Yeah, but speaking of that, so like we talked about.
Well, I wanted to finish one thing about that before you escape it. Is that with I haven't tried something like Master of Puppets with the side picking, so I don't know if that's where I'd go back to the point. And I don't know if that's where I want to go back to the thicker pick, because that aggressiveness that comes out of using a 1.14 and 1.2, it's immediate. It's there right away with all the down picking on Master Puppets. I haven't tried that with this, so I got to see if that carries over. But continue where you were going with that. I just wanted to establish that. Some more testing together.
Yeah. And so I tried this. We talked about it. I tried this. I grabbed the telly.
Yeah.
Grab the telly, this is the hardest guitar for me to play aggressive on, because it's, how do I show this? It's a flat. It is not an arch top. It is a flat top. So at the bridge section here, if I get the angle right, it's just flat to the guitar. So my hand is flat, and I turn it sideways, and I note the first thing that I noticed when I did it, it was dark. The tone was instantly darker, and the attacks were instantly softer, because and this is that aggression thing. Now you and I have different playing styles. I really like that James Hetfield thing. That was the foundation of my learning the guitar.
Yes.
And I turned this thing sideways, and all of that aggression and all of that attack went away. I hate it. I hate it. I said, what is this? Like, I understand, like, for softer stuff, like I would, but that's where I enjoy another style I'm starting to learn is the hybrid pick. And we talked about that too. You said it helped you with the hybrid picking because it laid your hand closer to the fretboard.
As a person that does not hybrid pick, I feel like it's a little bit more accessible for me. That's
Yeah.
still totally part of the testing. So I can't vouch for that yet. However, the guy that was demonstrating it, major hybrid picker player. I mean, crazy good
Well,
at
you
it.
said Nashville
And
guy. I mean,
Nashville.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's like, I can't, they were talking about his hybrid pick, and, it's like, I can't not use my fingers on certain parts. Like, it just comes out. I
Yeah.
don't even mean to do that, but that's just how that has to sound.
Well, and well, here's reality. Like, this is playing guitar. There really is no wrong way.
No.
There's only your way, right? I read an article when I was young one time that two things stood out. One was positive and one was negative. Okay. So the negative one was like, don't ever wrap your thumb around the neck. All right. Like, don't ever, when you're playing, don't ever get in the habit of doing this with your thumb. And I was like, oh, I better not. You always put your thumb this way so you can have all this access. And then, I'm 40 years old. I've been playing. I'm no virtuoso guitar player. Okay. I'm not the greatest. I'm not even in the top 50% probably, because there's a lot of amazing people. But sometimes I fret with my thumb every now and then to do some fun stuff. So as 20 years down the line, that article stuck with me for a long time. And then eventually I was just like, broke through the barrier. Well, that's just flat out bullshit for me.
Is, yeah. Yeah. No, it is bullshit.
The positive one I read was back to Metallica. It was Kurt Hammett. And Kurt Hammett had an article. It was just an article with text. And it said that one of the changing things for him, he was playing as a young guitar player. And I see it in a lot of people, that pinky is curled up real tight. And he's playing with these three fingers in the pinky. And somebody said, you better start using that pinky or it's just going to hang there. And so I was like, I really started doing, and I took that to heart. And all of my rhythm playing, all of my chords, my power chords are all, multiple strings with the pinky. I bar chords with the pinky all the time. Work on my strength. I like a lot of inverted chords where the pinky is the highest or the lowest string, on the deepest string.
Yeah.
And the other ones like inverted.
We
like
have
that.
a lot of those in the Cue the Muses album. We both go to that kind of.
Yeah.
The thing I like about it's a triad, right? And it's like the way that the sound comes from those notes, it leaves you open to what I like is where it gives you the access to the strings underneath, like the suspended open strings, and the way all of that starts becoming available. When you do the other chord shapes, it's just a different thing when you're approaching it diagonally and upside down like that.
Yeah.
I like the soundscape that I get more.
Well, and it's really conducive to drop D playing. Really, it's like super conducive because now a traditional bar chord, you're borrowing the high strings and the one low string, right? And then you've got these fingers fretting up higher. Well, in drop D, this finger fretting that chord, well, that one moved, that fret moves up here. So now you're holding this one, and the lower strings note root is here instead of here, and it opens your index finger up, which is your most dexterous finger. Now, I don't care who you are. It opens that one up to do the higher string things. While you're rooting, you're doing roots with the lower, and it's kind of reverse from traditional. That's the style I like. When I grew up, a lot of people would say, man, Richard's got this weird style. He's always doing these upside down chords. And it's just because that was what, for me, it was more comfortable and I could be more creative that way. That opened up a lot of creative doors. It was learning a Finger 11 song. I think we talked about this before. I learned one of Finger 11's songs off the Grayest of Blue Skies album. And that's where I learned that upside down drop D chord, which is much easier in standard tuning, mind you, because then you're just using the top two strings on one finger on the same fret. And that's in a standard tuning, that's that chord. But in drop D, you have to do an upside down power chord where traditionally your index is high and your whatever finger is low, and you flip them and you're low and high. That's that same chord, but it's more fun to pull it like that. And then it just opened up, like I said, opened up doors to do different progressions and scales and different patterns because
I think it puts your fingers in a position where you can walk your fingers.
Yes.
versus like when you're locked down to barring down so many strings with. I like the idea of like you get the whole essence of the chord across with just three notes. You're ultimately playing like your root, your fifth, and your third,
Yeah.
and your fingers are in a position where you can then walk them over to other notes while you're still holding down the other notes. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I to be honest, I actually hadn't identified necessarily that I even like it more for drop D or more for E. I just those shapes, I always find myself gravitating towards them. Like the Kill Cluso albums are just littered with that chord shape done in all kinds of ways, whether it's arpeggio stuff or it is just the chugging. It's pretty. There's something about it that's just pretty. And for whatever reason, it causes me to think of more interesting chord progressions. I think, like rather than there's something about once you just lock yourself into just straight bar chords and power chords that you kind of start thinking, I don't know, for me, you start thinking more stock out of the gate because you're like you're doing the traditional thing, the
Yeah.
straightforward box versus this spread out weird thing that's putting you over more octaves and your fingers are spreading apart more, and then it's also allowing them to be in a position where they can walk more while you're still
It-
holding down those other notes. It's very musical, melodic.
yeah. And everybody knows, no matter where you're at in your town, there's a local band who is kind of stuck in that chord style that you just described, right?
Sure.
Like, doesn't matter where you are. There's the one that they're a heavy metal band. They got long hair, and they're playing standard tuning, probably playing a bunch of Jackson, Randy Rhoads style guitars. I'm not trying to paint people in a box. I'm just saying, like, I see it, and
Yeah.
they get stuck in a mode, and that's like a certain mode, and it's kind of one dimensional in a sense, and it's good. I'm not saying it's bad music. I'm just saying that the creativity doesn't really go outside that box.
Mm.
And when you see, like, in Tallahassee, there's a young band. You know who they are. Our sons are mutually friends with members of the band, and the Medians band, and they're instrumental like jam band. That's what it's like, a modern day jam band. There's no vocals.
Mm-hmm.
They just find grooves, and they explore and they experiment. And Kyron let me hear they just dropped a new album. I think it's called, or a new song. I think it's called Poland is Poland. If
That
I'm
sounds kind of right. I can't
yeah,
remember the
yeah.
exact title either. It's
He
good though.
he yeah, he put it on the way home from class last night, and I was like, I first immediately forgot that I was listening to Medians, because
Uh-huh.
what the music did to me was I was driving, and it was that perfect non-distracting music that puts me in a trance, and I get in I'm meditating, where my thoughts start to flow and I don't realize it, and I'm not consciously thinking about anything. They're just
Mm-hmm.
coming in. You know that meditative state you get in, where it's just a fountain, it's just a river that's
That's
flowing.
awesome that it took you there
And I
right
was
away.
like, and I came out of it about halfway through the song, and I turned around. I had totally forgot we were listening to Medians, and I looked at Kyra and I said, "This is really good."
Yeah,
I was like,
it is good.
this is really good stuff." And they're doing
Yeah.
these just pretty cool guitar, harmonies, like fun. It's kind of heavy. It's distorted, so it's got
Mm.
like all the elements of it being heavy. The drums are super clean and punchy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like aggressively heavy. Like, it did not make me bang my head in any way.
No,
Like,
no.
I wasn't
I
like, oh hell yeah, like it was
yeah.
so smooth
Yeah.
and just
No,
good.
that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
And they've changed members a few times. Like from what I understand, I think it was just the drummer and the bass player that are the original players of the band. The guitar players have changed over the course of time.
Yeah.
And the bass player's moving to New York is what they announced at their last show that they played. So I
Oh
don't know
man.
what. Yeah, so now it's just the drummer, which is like the original member, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael Nix and
Yeah.
this
The only
dying breed. You
the
know,
last man standing.
there's
So
like one member that's still in the
yeah.
original band.
Well, there's some bands out there that none of the current members are any
Part of
of
the
the
original
original
band. Yeah,
members.
yeah,
There's
that's
several
wild.
of them out there. It gets weird.
That's wild.
Yeah, it gets good.
Um, we're doing, guys, we're doing a shorter episode today, so we have time for one more topic. We'll take questions. You.
Take questions. Oh, in front. In
Just
front.
kidding.
So, Ash,
No,
what,
I do.
what,
Yeah.
what do you use in your hair?
In my hair,
Yeah.
I go back and forth with what's available at the store. I use a Crew fiber. It's a light little ointment. It just keeps down the frizzies. That's it. I usually put like about
Ah,
like a fingertip worth, and then just
just,
spread that across, just enough
just,
to keep down the frizzies.
just a dab will do you.
Just a dab will do you. So
Yeah.
that's what I use there. In other news, there is well, this links to a music thing. Actually, let's make this the last talk because I think it's interesting. There's not a point to it per se. It's just interesting times. Okay, we avoid politics in general completely, but
Yeah,
over the weekend,
there's a little politicking in the news right now.
there's a little bit going on. I mean, so President Trump was, just to mark this moment in time, if we ever listen to this again, President Trump or former President Trump, it looks like he's probably going to be president again, with an assassination attempt. I don't know how much you looked at that, but without getting into much of it, bottom line is the crosshairs was on his head. He literally turns his head to look at a chart that they have up. And because he did that, it put him out of position. And so the bullet went through his ear. Right. And
Yeah.
it was literally just, if he had just not turned his head at that very moment,
Yeah.
he would have been dead. And really, unfortunately, there was somebody in the crowd that did die. He was a father. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Firefighter threw himself on top of his family and took the bullet, and he had passed. And then there's a couple in critical condition. I haven't checked back up on that. And the reason I bring it up is not just to talk about politics, but this dives into music a little bit. And part of the reason why we don't we had 2 requests for all the singers in Cue the Muses when we selected them. As far as their lyrics go, we gave them complete reign over what they came up with lyrically. We told them what the concept was for the show, and it'd be cool if they incorporated some element of that into their lyrics. But how they did that was totally up to them. And the only 2 requests that we had specifically was no religion and no politics, because it's a team of there were 10 of us in this group, and people get really sensitive about their views and stuff. And I know for a fact that within even our own band, if we were going to go into a political conversation, there'd be conflicting views. Some people take it more seriously than others. I follow a lot of politics. You never hear me talk about it really, right? But something did happen over the week, I think within a few hours, I believe, same day or the next day of the assassination, Tenacious D was having a concert. I don't know and Kyle Gass.
I vaguely know this. I've seen some headlines, and I've been trying to not really pay attention. But I don't know what. Do you know what he said?
Yeah, I heard it because somebody was, people were filming it with their phone, and it was a skit that they had up, and there was some kind of devil robot up on the stage, and I can't remember exactly what. Oh, the devil or whatever the creature was offered Kyle a wish that he would grant, and then he said, "Next time, don't miss." And that immediately Jack Black turned and kind of I don't know how exactly he ended the skit. And Kyle's lost his agent. The whole Tenacious D tour has been put on hiatus. Kyle's suffering in very intense, I don't know where his career's at for a while, but the entire tour that they had planned and we're in the midst of is completely not happening now. And some people are saying that Jack Black threw him under the bus by bailing on an old friend and treating him that way for the Hollywood execs or whatever. But, the thing, I kind of want to defend Jack Black here for just a moment and say, this is why we requested that nobody in our group talked politics on the stage, because it's if you have a view, you're going to have conflicts. And when people talk in a band, it can be challenging for, guilt by association or whatever, right? It gets complicated and just takes it into waters that's not even about the art anymore. Now, on a personal note, that's a pretty look. Politics are politics. I don't wish anyone to get assassinated. I do think that was a shitty joke, um,
Mhm.
but you know, that's why this stuff isn't talked about. Like
Yeah.
there's a time for art and there's a time for I don't know. But it's kind of a bummer. I hope this is not the like end of Tenacious D. I hope they can
Well,
rebound from it because I think they make stuff that I've loved for years.
so and it's kind of like what you just said. There's a line for art, and then there's a line for this other stuff. And now Tenacious D is a kind of a unique case, a unique example where they are a comedy group.
Hmm.
Like they part of Tenacious D's art is comedy, and it's raunchy comedy. And so I support. I love comedy. I love comics. There was
Me too.
one time when I was young, I had a buddy of mine who told me, "Man, you're funny. You could be a stand-up comic." And I like thought about that really hard for a little while and never figured it out. But
Yeah.
I respect comics that get up and do what they do, like in the same way I respect musicians who do it. And they're Tenacious D's both. And
Agreed.
I'm a very strong advocate of satirical humor and freedom of speech, and nobody's safe, right? Like nobody's safe. Like South Park. You know how South Park gets away with more than anyone else in the industry can get away with? I guarantee you, in 6 months to a year's time, South Park will do a episode that is terrible about the Trump assassination, something, and it'll be just fine. And
Hmm.
what I think's going on with Kyle Gass, and I'm these are my own opinions, but what I think's going on with Kyle Gass is just an unfortunate proximity to the event, because it's terrible, and I don't wish anything either. Like, that's I agree with our stance on not bringing politics in, because what it's going to do when you bring politics into music is, if you're too far one way, you're alienating 50% of your potential audience
Well,
by.
especially when the country's divided in half the way it is.
Yeah, and
So
it's a really shitty place. And so in short, not to make this too much longer of an answer, but I don't agree with what Kyle Gass did. But I agree that satirical comedy should be protected, and that Tenacious D, what he should have done is talked with his partner, Jack Black, about the skit. And I've been in situations where I've said stuff that's really stupid that didn't go over well. And, much smaller scale. Maybe it was a bad joke with a girl at a bar or something when I was younger, things like that. But the gravity of where they're at, it sucks. I'm
yeah.
upset that, because Tenacious D is one of those things. I saw a post where somebody was like, Jack Black's been washed up for the last 10 years, this or that, just this bashing on these guys. It's like, man, do you understand what that man and that band and that has done for music? Like, talk about one of the last, like, hoorahs for rock and roll and that style, and really what an inspiration for what we're doing
Yeah.
with our show. I mean, it's
Totally.
probably the closest thing out there to a similarity of what we're trying to do. We're doing something that's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but in a sense, very much close to
Huge
the same.
inspiration. Huge inspiration. I love, Jack Black. When people say he's doing it for the Hollywood, it's like, first of all, Jack Black, like the reason Tenacious D, we even know about it is because of Jack Black. Realistically, he had a career and he was an actor. And it's like, oh, he does music too. Oh, he's really good. This is funny. And, I'm not saying that Kyle doesn't pull his weight. He absolutely does as a musician in the band. But the reason that it had a platform to be known in the first place was already Jack Black and his movie career. So it's like that's a part of Jack. That's not like he's a musician and then sold out to be an actor. It's, if anything, it's like a complete even street there. And his roles that he's done in film, have played just as much a part of my liking of him as his show, and it is the combination that I love. So, hey, look, it's all good. I think the thing, proximity to the time of it just happening, hypersensitive, not very tasteful to do within such a short time. South Park gets away with as much as they do because it's so smart, and because they play every side of the fence. And I
Yeah.
think that
Nobody's safe.
nobody's safe. They make up for it everywhere. One of my favorite political speeches, possibly my favorite political speech of all time, is Team America, the end speech about, Republicans are assholes and Democrats are pussies. And, it goes on, and it's brilliant. It is we need them for this and they need us for this. And it's like one of the best political speeches of my that clarified so much for me as a teenager when I watched that. It was great. So anyway, bottom line is, hope Tenacious D continues and marches on soon enough. I hope the tour is not officially canceled and that they're just figuring some things out. And I know that Kyle's publicly come out and given what seemed like a very big apology, and people say things at a time, it is what it is. We've reached the end of this episode.
I'll say this. I am glad I saw Tenacious D last year when I did. I'm so thankful I got to see it live.
If that was the end of Tenacious D and you did get to see it last year, I'm mad that I didn't go, So they'll be back together again. They just need to, it'll be all right. Anyway, dude, it's great seeing you. I'm heading to the mountains on Saturday. I think I can still do a podcast next week from the mountains if you're up for it. I'll bring my MacBook with me. Should be good to still do one next Thursday.
Sounds good. I'll be Wednesday night. I'll be shaking hands with the guys from Mastodon and Lamb of God at a VIP meet and greet in Orlando.
This is great. I'll be in the mountains and you'll have just hung out with Mastodon. All right.
I'm gonna give them a business card and I'm sure they'll be 100% in. Next week we'll have Lamb of God and Mastodon on the MuseCast.
Oh my! I'm in. That'll be. Of course, that's the week I have to do it from off my laptop instead of.
Don't worry, they're not doing it.
I know.
But they'll know about us.
They will, man. They will. They're gonna mention it on online. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week, man.
We'll see you guys.